Have you wondered why some people get sick all the time? Even when they are doing everything right. It's not just bad luck, but for many, it's something called primary immunodeficiency disorder, a hidden condition that affects the body's ability to fight off infections. Imagine being a child who's always tired, always sick, and when the doctors keep saying it's just a common cold, or an adult who frequently visits the hospital are dismissed saying they are normal. So that's the reality of many people living with PID. But there's a hope with awareness, early diagnosis, and the right treatment, a life can change dramatically. That's why we are here to shed some light on PID during Primary Immunodeficiency Week, which is celebrated from April 22nd to April 29th. Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen, and I'm honored to be your host for this extravagant topic which we'll be dealing today. Today, we are diving into a very important topic that goes unnoticed: primary immunodeficiency disorder, otherwise as PID. The Primary Immunodeficiency Week from April 22nd to April 29th, let's focus to raise awareness about the importance of early detection, diagnosis, and management of PID. Today, in our midst, we have an honored personality who will be sharing her view on the awareness and to talk in detail on our topic PID. So it's great honor to have Dr. Ponni Shivaprakasham. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you.
So, not forgetting, Doctor is an MBBS membership of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, London, fellowship in Pediatric Hematology, Oncology, and BMT, Toronto, and currently she is a senior consultant, pediatric hematology, oncology, and BMT at Gleneagles Hospitals, Chennai. So it's with huge privilege we welcome you to this wonderful talk, doctor, which you will be sharing the awareness of PID. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Christine, and thank you for the kind introduction about myself and the Awareness Week as well.
So the first question which I would like to shoot up on this extravagant topic PID, which we'll be discussing today, is what is primary immunodeficiency and how would you state the different types?
Okay, so it's an excellent question. So, what is primary immunodeficiency? So, I'm going to mix the language a little bit so people can understand it. There might be some terminologies which is not very appropriate in some languages, or I don't have an appropriate term. So, I'm going to keep it very casual, Christine, so you can understand it in a simple manner. So, primary immunodeficiency, as the name actually implies, primary is not without a secondary cause. You're born with it, or you have a primary defect somewhere, and that's causing a problem. And what is the problem? It is an immunodeficiency, so a deficient immunity. So what is immunity? I'm going to keep it very simple. So immunity na எதிர்ப்பு சக்தின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Everybody knows what is immunity. So we go out, eat something, binge into eating something outside, and then come back with a bad gut. Tummy spoil ஆயிடுது. That's because your immune system is working and it's trying to fight against an infection. There are certain patients or certain group of children who are born with a defect in the immune system. And those children could be harboring what we call it as a primary immunodeficiency. Now, primary immunodeficiency, it is a genetic cause most of the times. And as I said, they're born with it. Sometimes majority of the children, like 30 to 35% of the children get detected very early on in the age, like less than 1 year of age. And as Christine, you were mentioning, some children are born, they say it's bad luck because they always are in the hospital with an infection. They don't gain weight, they're quite sick. சின்னதாகவே இருப்பாங்க, வெயிட் போட மாட்டேங்கிறாங்க, சாப்பிட்டனா டயரியா இருந்துகிட்டே இருக்குது, எந்த ஃபுட்டும் ஒத்துக்கலை, ஆர் ஆல்வேஸ் கம்மிங் இன் வித் அ செஸ்ட் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன், கோயிங் டு த பீடியாட்ரிஷியன் ரிப்பீட்டட்லி. இந்த குழந்தைங்களாம் தேர் not most of them are not with because of a bad luck, could be because of a genetic problem. So now immune system ன்னு எடுத்துட்டிங்கன்னா it's not just one cell, but we are going to talk more about it. It's not just one cell or one unit within the body. It is a big system inside the body which talks to each other. So for example, இப்போ ஒரு hospital or ஒரு school நல்லா function பண்ணணும்னா there are different departments like டீச்சர்ஸ்க்கு தனியாக இருப்பாங்க, ஹவு இட் ஹேஸ் டு ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ்ன்னு தனியாக இருப்பாங்க, இந்த டேபிள் சேர்ஸ் டேமேஜ் ஆச்சு, ஹவுஸ் கீப்பிங், ஷாப்ஸ், இது எல்லாத்துக்கும் தனியாக தேர் இன் சார்ஜ் ஆஃப் சர்டன் திங்ஸ் inside the school or in a hospital in a different role. இதே மாதிரி இம்யூன் சிஸ்டமும் அப்படி தான். ஸோ பாக்டீரியா வருது or there is an infection that a child gets, அதுக்கெல்லாம் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள் சில எலிமெண்ட்ஸ் இருக்கும், சில செல்ஸ் இருக்குது, பட் தே ஹாவ் டு டாக் டு ஈச் அதர். தெர் ஆர் சர்டன் கெமிக்கல்ஸ் விச் ஆர் ஆல்சோ ஆக்சுவலி சென்டிங் அக்ராஸ் சிக்னல்ஸ். தெர் இஸ் அ பாக்டீரியா இன் பிளேஸ், ஸோ லெட்ஸ் கோ அண்ட் ஃபைட் இட். So one cell talks to another through these chemicals. So if there is a defect in one of these or many of these, this is called a primary immunodeficiency. As I said, these are genetic problems and we all are made of genes. ஸோ நம்ம ஹேர் கலர் என்ன, கண்ணு கலர் என்னன்னு, அதே மாதிரி நம்ம ஜீன் எப்படி இருக்கணும்னு டிஃபைன் பண்ணுறதுக்கு தெர் ஆர் ஜீன்ஸ். We have about 20 to 30,000 genes in our body, but about 2,000 genes are just responsible for immune system. And அதில் ஏதாச்சும் சின்ன சின்ன டிஃபெக்ட் or it is missing or it is replaced by another different gene, then அதில் ஏதாச்சும் கோளாறு or there is a problem, and that is called primary immunodeficiency. And different types of PIDs or primary immunodeficiencies in எடுத்துட்டனா சிம்பிளாக ஒரு 4 typesன்னு சொல்லலாம். பட் there is something called International Union of Immunological Societyன்னு ஒன்று இருக்குது. அவங்க வந்து they've defined it as 10 different types. நான் அந்த 10 different types சொல்லலை, பட் சிம்பிளிஃபைடாக சொல்லணுன்னா ஆன்டிபாடிஸ் ஒழுங்காக ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணலை, அதாவது எதிர்ப்பு சக்தி ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணுறது பேர் தான் ஆன்டிபாடி. ஸோ இஃப் வி ஹாவ் அ வேக்சினேஷன், ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் கோவிட் வேக்சினேஷன் எடுத்தோன்னா we want antibody to be produced. So next time if somebody is exposed to COVID, we would fight against it through these antibodies. So antibody productionல ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்குது or antibody ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணுற செல் or that cell communicating with another cell, அதில் டிஃபெக்ட் இருந்ததுன்னா we call it as a combined defect. Or complement system இருக்குது, this actually supports or complements the immune system. Or இதுக்கு நடுவில் இருக்க system, the chemicals the problem இருக்குது, or there is another set of cells called macrophages, phagocytes. So அந்த செல்ஸில் ஏதாவது டிஃபெக்ட் இருந்ததுன்னா they could be a PID. So these are the different, broadly speaking, these are the 5 different ways that we classify. இப்போ இந்த 10 different types which has been classified by IUIS, which is International Union of Immunological Society சொன்னேன்ல, அது இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் டிஃபரெண்ட்டாக டிஃபைன் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இந்த 10 சிஸ்டமில் there are patients who can present at a later age as a bigger child or an adult age-லையும் autoimmunity or malignancy அப்படின்லாம் they can present later on. So these are also coming into the same group called PID.
So thank you so much, Doctor. I think you have explained it very clearly to us in our language, which we can understand rather than medical terms. You have brought it to us in a very defined way, which is really understandable. So we are going to shoot up with the next question. How do symptoms of PID vary among different types?
So like I said, so symptoms, basically it's a problem with immune system. So symptoms in எடுத்துட்டோன்னா, it is important because you need to identify that this could be a problem with the immune system. So it helps diagnosing them earlier and also managing them earlier. So it is very, very important or very crucial that you understand the symptoms of different types of PID. As I said earlier, different classification இருக்குது, different cell signals இருக்குது. இதெல்லாம் வந்து பேஷண்ட்ஸ்க்கு புரிய போகிறது இல்லை. Or anybody looking after the child, like a school teacher or a mother is not going to understand, oh, இந்த cell பேசிக்க மாட்டேங்குதுன்னு. But how simple can you define, or you can actually tell patients that you have to think about whether your child or your next door neighbor's child has an immunodeficiency. Could it be an immunodeficiency? அப்படின்னு யோசிக்கிறதுக்கு. ஸோ ஜெஃப்ரி மாடல் ஃபவுண்டேஷன் ஒன்று இருக்காங்க. அவங்க வந்து they've defined 10 different signs or symptoms, early signs and symptoms of primary immunodeficiency. You look it up anywhere and it is very well defined. It is important, and thank you for bringing this question, because a lot of times this is where we miss. Children keep getting into the hospital or into a clinic with repeated infections or repeated problems, and not just to the pediatrician. They can go anywhere. They can go either to a pulmonologist, they can go to a gastroenterologist, or they could go to an immunologist or a pediatrician. But sometimes we just need to think, is it just infection? Is it just that the child is allergic to milk, or is it just that they are allergic to certain types of food, or could this actually be an immunodeficiency? So it's important that not just the parents or the school teacher, it's also important for all the other subspecialists who might be looking after these children to look back or have a very rational or a lateral thinking to identify whether this could be an immunodeficiency, and refer these kids to an immunologist or a hematologist at the earliest, or do definitive tests. So ipo Jeffrey model foundation la kuduthirukku, I'm just giving you some example of those 10 signs and symptoms. So ஒரு வருஷத்துல குழந்தைங்க வந்து அடிக்கடி fever, it's one of the common things that child could be taken to a doctor. Adikadi fever varudhu, infection varudhu. So if there are more than 4 documented infections in a year, or sometimes they get admitted into the hospital because they're quite sick with a chest infection. We call it as a pneumonia. So if they have 2 pneumonias in a year, or frequent sinus infection, very severe sinus infection multiple times in a year, or if the child since being born they're not gaining weight. So as pediatricians we know, ஒரு குழந்தை பிறந்துட்டு 1 year ஆகும்போது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பர்த்டே வரும்போது 3 times அவங்களோட பர்த் வெயிட் ஆகணும். ஸோ சில குழந்தைங்க அதை ஸ்ட்ரகிள் பண்ணுவாங்க, either because they have diarrhea or they don't absorb food etc. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரியும் சில குழந்தைங்க ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணலாம். ஆர் very importantly, family history. Pediatricians love family history. ஸோ ஃபேமிலியில் ஏதாவது ஒரு குழந்தை இந்த மாதிரி இறந்துருக்காங்களா, ஆர் இதுக்கு முன்னாடி இந்த சிப்ளிங் இந்த மாதிரி இறந்துருக்காங்களா, அதெல்லாம் இம்பார்ட்டண்ட். சம்டைம்ஸ் சில பேர் மல்டிபிள் டைம்ஸ் ஐசியூவில் அட்மிட் ஆகிட்டு செப்சிஸ்ன்னு அட்மிட் ஆகிருக்கலாம். சில நேரங்களில் ஆப்சிஸ் ஃபார்மேஷன் சொல்லுவாங்க, அதாவது சீழ்கட்டி இருக்கும்னு சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல, அந்த மாதிரி உடம்புக்குள்ளே சில ஆர்கன்ஸில் ஆப்சிஸ் ஃபார்ம் ஆகிட்டு ஆன்டிபயோட்டிக்ஸ் ப்ரொலாங்டாக தேவைப்படலாம். ஒரு அன்யூஷுவல் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் சில நேரங்களில் மெனின்ஜைட்டிஸ் ஒரு பிரெயின் ஃபீவர் சொல்லுவாங்க, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சில டைம்ஸ் ஒரு அன்யூஷுவல் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் வந்திருக்கு, அதுக்கெல்லாம் ப்ரிவென்டபிள் வேக்சின்ஸ் போட்டு கூட இவங்களுக்கு இந்த இன்ஃபெக்ஷன்ஸ் வந்திருக்கு. இதெல்லாம் சர்டன் க்ளூஸ் டு திங்க் அபவுட் வெதர் அ சைல்டு குட் ஹாவ் primary immunodeficiencies. So இந்த மாதிரி physicians either pulmonologist or intensivist or a pediatrician who's looking after this child, or parents kuda they can always question and go back and see whether this child needs investigations or tests to be done to exclude primary immunodeficiency. அதாவது உங்களுக்கு வேற ஏதாவது டெஸ்ட் பண்ணி இது இல்லைன்னு ப்ரூவ் பண்ணுமான்றதுக்காக நம்ம அதை யோசிக்கணும், கன்சிடர் பண்ணணும்.
ஐ திங்க் இன்டீட் ரொம்ப கிளியராக டாக்டர் பொன்னி நம்மளுக்காக எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அதாவது வாட் இஸ் பிஐடி ஃபஸ்ட்டு எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, அண்ட் அடுத்தது சிம்டம்ஸ் ஆல்சோ ரொம்ப கிளியராக எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணாங்க. ஸோ சிம்டம்ஸ் வர்றது தாண்டி வந்து ஒரே ஒரு கொஸ்டின் என்னென்னா கேட்கணுன்னா, what are the tests? So the test commonly used to diagnose PID, lot of symptoms will be there, but this is a particular test which we can go to find out if we have PID in kids or adults. So what are the tests which you would suggest, doctor?
Very important and a great question. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் திங் இஸ் யாருக்கு இந்த டெஸ்ட் பண்ணணும், இதை தான் முன்னாடி நம்ம பேசணும். இப்போ இந்த டெஸ்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் ஃப்ரீலி அவைலபிளாக பண்ணலாமா, என்னென்ன டெஸ்ட் பண்ணணும்? ஆல்வேஸ் ஃபார் அ கிளினிஷியன் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் திங் இஸ் ஹிஸ்ட்ரி டேக்கிங். ஸோ இம்பார்ட்டண்ட் ஹிஸ்ட்ரி, ஃபேமிலி ஹிஸ்ட்ரி, எக்ஸ்டெண்டட் ஃபேமிலி ஹிஸ்ட்ரி. ஸோ அப்பா அம்மா இவங்க சைடில் யாருக்காச்சும் இந்த மாதிரி குழந்தை பிறந்து சிவியர் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன்ஸ்னு இறந்துருக்காங்களா, ஐசியூவில் நிறைய அட்மிஷன்ஸ், ஆர் இவங்களுக்கு முன்னாடி பிறந்த குழந்தைங்க யாராச்சும் இந்த மாதிரி ஸோ இட் இஸ் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட் தட் அ ஃபுல் ஹிஸ்ட்ரி இட் செல்ஃப் இஸ் அ பிக் திங். இன்வெஸ்டிகேஷன்ஸ்னு பண்ணும்போது ஃபுல் ஹிஸ்ட்ரி இஸ் எக்ஸ்ட்ரீம்லி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட். அடுத்தது பிளட் கவுண்ட்ஸ். சில குழந்தைங்களுக்கு வந்து தெர் ஆர் க்ளூஸ். பிளட் கவுண்ட்ஸ் பார்த்தோன்னாலே இதில் பர்டிகுலர்லி லிம்ஃபோசைட்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஏர்லி சைல்ட்ஹுட், இப்போது பிளட் கவுண்ட்டில் வந்து 3 வகையான பிளட் செல்ஸ் ஆர் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட். ஒன்று வந்து ஹீமோக்ளோபின் ஒரு ரெட் செல்ஸ், அடுத்தது ஒயிட் செல் கவுண்ட் அண்ட் பிளேட்லெட்ஸ். இப்போது இவங்களுக்கு ப்ராப்ளம் வந்து ஒயிட் செல் கவுண்ட். ஒயிட் செல் கவுண்ட் இஸ் த இம்யூன் செல் ஆர் எதிர்ப்பு சக்தியை குறிக்கிற செல். அதுலேயே டிஃப்ரெண்ட் டைப்ஸ் இருக்குது. நியூட்ரோஃபில்ஸ், லிம்போசைட்ஸ், மோனோசைட்ஸ், ஈஸ்னோஃபில்ஸ், பேசோஃபில்ஸ்னு இருக்குது. இதில் பர்டிகுலர்லி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் என்னென்னா லிம்போசைட்ஸ். சில குழந்தைங்க பிறந்து அவங்களோட லிம்போசைட்ஸ் வேறு எதுக்காவது அட்மிட் பண்ணியிருக்கலாம், ஒரு நியோனேட்டல் முதல் மாதத்தில் ஃபீவர் எல்லாம் வந்துச்சுன்னா சீரியஸ் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி சில நேரங்களில் குழந்தைங்க அட்மிட் ஆகலாம். ஒரு ரொம்ப டயரியான அட்மிட் ஆகும்போது பிளட் கவுண்ட்ஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த லிம்போசைட்ஸ் கேன் பி வெரி லோ. And it could be very important clue to see whether this child needs further investigation. So சில நேரங்களில் even a blood count and sometimes x-ray to see whether thymusனு ஒரு ஆர்கன் இருக்கும், அது டெவலப்டா இல்லையா. குழந்தைங்களுக்கு தைமஸ்லாம் 2 வயசு 3 வயசு வரைக்கும் அந்த ஷேடோ தெரியும் எக்ஸ்ரேல, அதுக்கப்புறம் அது மறைஞ்சு போயிடும். தைமஸ் இஸ் அ வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட், அந்த இம்யூன் சிஸ்டமில் ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டண்ட் ஆர்கன். சில நேரங்களில் அந்த குழந்தைங்களுக்கு அந்த தைமஸ் ஷேடோ கூட இருக்காது எக்ஸ்ரேயில். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி சில டெஸ்ட்லாம் வில் ஹெல்ப். ஸோ ஸ்ட்ராங் ஃபேமிலி ஹிஸ்ட்ரி, பிளட் கவுண்ட், எக்ஸ்ரே, இது வந்து பேசிக். இதுக்கு அடுத்தது இஃப் யூர் சஸ்பெக்டிங் ஓகே இந்த குழந்தைக்கு நம்ம எக்ஸ்க்ளூட் பண்ணணும், ஏன்னா நிறையா ஓவர்லாப்பிங் சைன்ஸ் இருக்குது, பட் ஐ எம் ஸ்ட்ராங்லி சஸ்பிஷியஸ் வெதர் திஸ் சைல்ட் ஹேஸ் பிஐடி, தென் தேல் டூ சம் எலாபரேட் டெஸ்ட். அதுலேயே 3 வகை. ஒன்று வந்து இம்யூனோகுளோபுலின் டெஸ்ட்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்லுவோம். அதாவது ஆன்டிபாடி லெவல் எவ்வளோ இருக்குது, அது சில நேரங்களில் ரொம்ப கம்மியாக இருக்கலாம், ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் கண்டிஷனில் ஒரு பார்ட் ஆஃப் இம்யூனோகுளோபுலின்ஸ் மட்டும் ரொம்ப ஹையாக இருக்கலாம், மீதி இம்யூனோகுளோபுலின்ஸ்லாம் கம்மியாக இருக்கலாம். இம்யூனோகுளோபுலின்ஸ் as I said are antibodies. So absent antibodies or abnormally raised one single antibody can be a problem. So this is a simple test. Majority of the labs or hospitals will have immunoglobulin test done. அடுத்தது லிம்போசைட் சப்செட்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்லுவோம். அதாவது இந்த பிளட்டில் இருக்க லிம்போசைட்ஸ் நான் சொன்னேன்ல ஒரு வகையான ஒயிட் செல், அதை எடுத்து அதில் என்ன டைப் ஆஃப் லிம்போசைட்ஸ் இருக்குது நான் சொன்னேன்ல ஆரம்பத்தில், ஒரு செல் இன்னொரு செல்லோட பேசி எப்படி வந்து இன்ஃபெக்ஷனை வந்து ஸ்டாப் பண்ணுன்றது. அதாவது டி செல்ஸ் அண்ட் பி செல்ஸ்ன்னு 2 வகை இருக்குது. அந்த 2த்தையும் மெஷர் பண்ணி ஆர் தே ப்ரெசென்ட் ஒரு ஆர் தே ஆப்சென்ட் ஆர் தே அப்நார்மலி லோ அப்படின்னு செக் பண்ணுறது. ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் அ ரிஃபைன்ட் டெஸ்ட். Not all labs will have, but many centers in the city does lymphocyte subsets. Usually lymphocyte subsets lam pandranga, a pediatrician will be looking after the child, and it will be in a hospital setting most of the times. And it is easily done. Ore naalla 2-3 hours la reports kadachirlam. So it's very easy. Time kuda it's very effective to get this done. இன்னும் சில டெஸ்ட்ஸ் இருக்குது. இதோட பிளட் டெஸ்ட்டில் என்பிடி டெஸ்ட்டுன்னு இருக்குது. ஒரு சில நேரங்களில் இந்த ஸ்கின்னில் ஆப்சஸ் வர்றது, லிவரில் ஆப்சஸ், இந்த மாதிரிலாம் வரவங்களுக்குலாம் பர்டிகுலராக சில நேரங்களில் ஃபேகோசைட் ஆர் நியூட்ரோஃபில் ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்லுவோம். நியூட்ரோஃபில், லிம்போசைட்ஸ், இதெல்லாம் டிஃப்ரெண்ட் டைப்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஒயிட் செல்ஸ். நியூட்ரோஃபில்ஸில் ப்ராப்ளம் இருந்ததுன்னா ஒரு என்பிடின்னு ஒரு டெஸ்ட் இருக்குது. தட் இஸ் ஆல்சோ வெரி ஈஸிலி அவைலபிள் அண்ட் அ வெரி சீப் டெஸ்ட். இட்ஸ் லைக் 300-400 rupees, அரவுண்ட் தட் ப்ரைஸ். ஸோ அதெல்லாம் ஈஸிலி இட் கேன் கிளின்ச் த டயக்னோசிஸ். இதை தாண்டி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டாக வேறு என்ன டெஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட்னா, as I said, it is a genetic disorder. So genetics is a very important test. So finally, to clinch the diagnosis, we also have to do a genetic test, which is again done in a blood sample. Very easy to do the test, but it can take a longer time. முன்னாடியெல்லாம் வந்து நம்மளுக்கு இந்த ஃபெசிலிட்டிஸ்லாம் இல்லை. இப்போது இந்தியாவிலே நிறைய சென்டர்ஸில் we are doing genetics test to confirm if it is a PID or not. And like I said, it can take up to 2 to 4 weeks to get a genetic reports. But அதுக்கு முன்னாடியே இந்த reports எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் clue கொடுத்தனா we might be able to start off the treatment or prevent any further infections from occurring.
Clearly answered, doctor. Thank you so much for that. So the next question is, are there any new treatments or any therapies for PID? So therapies come in different ways. So do you think that treatments work for PID? Or do you think if we do any therapy for the kid or for the adult, which will work in the recovery of PID?
Very good question. So yes, of course, இப்போ ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்டுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இப்போ குழந்தைக்கு ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்காக நான் சொல்கிறேன். So if there's a baby who's been born and we have diagnosed a child as having PID, so it depends on what kind of PID and what treatment is necessary. 2 வகைப்படும். ஒன்று வந்து ப்ரொஃபைலாக்டிக் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட், அதாவது வேறு ஏதாவது இன்ஃபெக்ஷன்ஸ் வராமல் ப்ரிவெண்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு in the meantime if there is another definitive treatment available. So preventative treatmentன்னு எடுக்கும்போது or prophylacticன்னு எடுக்கும்போது சில குழந்தைங்களுக்கு as I said antibody level can be very low. ஆன்டிபாடிஸ் கம்மியாக இருந்ததுன்னா ஒரு பாக்டீரியாவோ ஒரு பாரசைட்டோ ஒரு ஃபங்கையோ இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் கொடுத்துச்சுன்னா இட் கேன் பி லைஃப் த்ரெட்னிங் ஃபார் தீஸ் சில்ட்ரன். ஸோ டெஃபினிட்டிவ் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் அவைலபிளாக இருக்கிற பட்சத்தில் we might be able to give them what we call it as IVIG. So antibodies available inside a bottle which we can give on a monthly basis. அது இன்ஃப்யூஷனாக கொடுப்பாங்க, பிளட்டில் கலக்கிற மாதிரி இன்ட்ரவீனஸ். ஸோ கேனுலா போட்டு அது வழியாக கொடுப்பாங்க. வெளிநாட்டிலெல்லாம் வந்து சப்கியூட்டேனஸ் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் சொல்லுவாங்க, அதாவது ஸ்கின்னுக்கு கீழே ஒரு நீடில் போட்டு அது ஒரு இன்ஃப்யூஷனாக, அது வீட்டில் கூட பண்ணலாம். பேரண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் ட்ரெயின் டு கிவ் தட் on a weekly basis. But இப்போதைக்கு இந்தியாவில் subcutaneous not available, but intravenous formulation is available and very much available, and we are using it very frequently for our patients. So monthly infusion அது பண்ணலாம். அதை தவிர வேறு என்னெல்லாம் ப்ரிவென்டிவ் ஆன்டி இன்ஃபெக்டிவ் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட். ஸோ பாக்டீரியா, சில நோட்டோரியஸ் பாக்டீரியல் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் வராமல் தடுக்கிறதுக்கு சில ஆன்டிபயோட்டிக் ப்ரிவென்டிவாக கொடுப்போம், ஆன்டிவைரல் கொடுப்போம். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி இது வந்து ப்ரொஃபைலாக்டிக் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட். இப்போ டெஃபினிட்டிவ் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட், வாட் ஆர் த நியூவர் டெஃபினிட்டிவ் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்ஸ் அவைலபிள்? நிறைய இருக்குது. ஆஸ் ஐ செட், இட் டிபெண்ட்ஸ் ஆன் வாட் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் PID. இப்போது நியூ கிட் ஆன் த பிளாக் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா மோனோக்ளோனல் ஆன்டிபாடிஸ்ன்னு சிலது இருக்குது. ஸோ ஒரு சில கண்டிஷன்ஸ்க்கு மோனோக்ளோனல் ஆன்டிபாடிஸ் ஆர் ஆல்சோ அவைலபிள், ஆர் சம் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் இம்யூனோதெரப்பீஸ் ஆர் அவைலபிள். இதை தவிர ஸ்டாண்டர்டாக நம்ம ஊரில் எல்லா இடத்துலையும் நிறைய சென்டர்ஸில் என்னென்னலாம் பண்ணுறோன்னா போன் மேரோ டிரான்ஸ்பிளான்ட்டுன்னு பண்ணுறோம். போன் மேரோ டிரான்ஸ்பிளான்ட்றது எலும்பு மஜ்ஜையை மாற்றி அமைக்கிற சிகிச்சை. எலும்பு மஜ்ஜைக்கும் இம்யூனிட்டிக்கும் என்ன சம்பந்தம் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, எலும்பு மஜ்ஜை or bone marrow is a factory which produces blood. For these children, the primary problem is inside the blood. Bloodல இருக்க immune system is not working. So what we can do is we can actually destroy the patient's bone marrow, not surgically, medically நம்மளால் அந்த எலும்பு மஜ்ஜையை அழிக்க முடியும். அழிச்சிட்டு அதோட இடத்துல வேற ஒருத்தவங்களோட எலும்பு மஜ்ஜை, அதுவும் ஆஸ் மெடிக்கலாக இட்ஸ் லைக் அ டிரான்ஸ்ஃபியூஷன், பிளட் ப்ராடக்ட் கொடுக்குற மாதிரி கொடுத்துருவோம். கொடுத்துட்டு once that new bone marrow goes into its place, it will be functioning very well. Particularly நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டில் வந்து we know BMT or bone marrow transplant is a very expensive treatment. It costs a few lakhs. And இதை தவிர இந்த IVIG, இந்த ஆன்டிபயோட்டிக் தெரப்பிலாம் கொடுக்குறது எல்லாமே it is very expensive. But bone marrow transplant, நம்ம கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து it is giving fund for these patients who are very poor, who will not be able to afford these treatments. BMT is done under Tamil Nadu CM scheme also. ஸோ இதை தவிர இப்போது நியூவாக என்னென்ன வருதுன்னா ஜீன் தெரப்பி. ஸோ டெக்ஸ்ட் புக்ஸில் நாங்கள் படித்த காலத்துலேருந்தே ஜீன் தெரப்பின்னு ஒன்று இட் மைட் கம் இன் த ஃபியூச்சர்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தோம். இப்போ இட்ஸ் ஆல் கம்மிங் இன் பிளேஸ், அண்ட் ஹோப்ஃபுல்லி in the next 5 to 10 years we might have more movement in gene therapy. இந்த ஜீன் தெரப்பி என்ன பண்ணோன்னா, டிஃபெக்டிவ் ஜீனை ரிமூவ் பண்ணி அந்த இடத்துல நார்மல் ஜீனை பொறுத்துறது. இட் சவுண்ட்ஸ் வெரி சிம்பிள், பட் இட்ஸ் நாட் தட் சிம்பிள். இப்போ நியூவர் டெக்னிக்ஸ், கிறிஸ்பர் டெக்னிக் அந்த மாதிரிலாம் யூஸ் பண்ணி அந்த தேவையில்லாத ஜீனை கட் பண்ணி நியூ ஜீன் போடுறாங்க. பட் we are still further away from getting gene therapy into local practice yet, but it is on its way, and I'm hoping that it'll come to us too and will be freely available with much less complications involved in that.
Very well answered, doctor. So as we all know that many diseases are in India, and PID, since we are having the awareness from April 22nd to 29th, so how surely can you say that, and how common is PID in India?
Excellent question, because this is something that that will be running in everybody's mind. Seri PID சொல்றீங்க, it's actually it was called one of the rare disorders. அதாவது ரொம்ப it's not very common, so that's why they get missed, etc. But over the years, we know this disease has been in existence since it was discovered first in 1952. Nearly 75 years we've been knowing about this kind of disorder, and slow and new disorders are getting into this classification. So நிறைய developments வந்துட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ இப்போது இந்தியாலையும் முன்னாடியெல்லாம் PID was not a very favorite topic for a lot of people. Why? Because நிறைய labs இல்லை, நம்மளுக்கு நிறைய facilities இல்லை to treat, and patients actually were not being diagnosed. 70 to 90% of the patients globally as well are not being diagnosed with PID, and these children can die without having a diagnosis too. So this is all only an estimate. So all over the world and பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு 5 million children இருக்காங்க அப்படின்னா இந்தியாவில் we don't have an estimate yet, because as I said, literature is just coming up. This topic is becoming a favorite for a few physicians now, and more literatures are coming up. Last decade la or 20 or 30 publications தான் இருந்தது. So we were able to read about PIDs in journals, in medical journals. But இப்போ வந்து there are quite a lot of publications. So still we don't know the denominator. We don't know how many children would be born with this disease.
PID, exactly.
However, we still think there could be a few lakh or more children with PID here. Prevalence in பார்த்தீங்கன்னா maybe 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 2,000
Okay.
could be having a PID. So it is not really a rare disorder anymore. It's just that we probably have been missing, or they don't come to have a diagnosis yet because they don't reach the hospital yet. So it's becoming more prevalent.
I think indeed that answer was very, very relevant. I think it would have reached to many people as of now. And the next question, in my introduction, I mentioned about a baby going to a hospital and just coming back saying that you just have a cold, or an adult going to an hospital saying that, you know, the test, everything are normal. So how frequent and how can you say that whether kids are affected more with PID or adults?
As I said, nearly 30 to 35% of children who are less than 6 months of age have a PID. In the 100 people who are diagnosed with PID in பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, nearly 30 to 35 babies less than 6 months would have PID. The remaining are a little older. It happens even in adult age, but less common in adult. So majority of them, about 60% or more, happens in childhood. Childhood na less than 18 years of age. Children, but 1/3 in infancy or less than 1 year of age.
Okay. So how long does it typically take to diagnose PID, doctor?
So as I said, PID diagnosis na, it starts with history taking. அதுக்கப்புறம் few important blood tests or relevant blood tests, including the flow cytometry, which I mentioned, to differentiate whether they have lymphocytes or not, immunoglobulin assay, and BT test. This could happen within a few days. I'm talking about less than a week. But final diagnosis with regards to this treatment or managing the child further, final diagnosis can be with a genetic test, but it takes about 2 to 4 weeks, maximum of 4 weeks for 28 working days in Solvanga to get the genetic report through. But before that, we will have some idea with all the basic blood tests that I mentioned and those special tests which are relevant. So we should be able to have a diagnosis within a week.
Indeed, as we all know that disease has a lot of disadvantages when we use the word. And since we are talking about the awarenesses of PID, what happens to someone's body when they are diagnosed or when someone has PID?
So what happens to a person's body appadina? So immunodeficiency, what we find is the patient's immunity is low, so they can be affected with infections at different organs or different sites, and depending on where the immunodeficiency in the system la immunity defect irko adukku etha madri they can have infections. And particularly very young age la varumbodhu they can acquire certain infections through mother's breast milk, etc. And சில நேரங்கள்ல disseminated infection ஆவும் போகலாம். அதாவது உடல்ல நிறைய இடத்துக்கு போய் it can spread, and certainly this could also be life threatening when there is absolutely no immunity or less immunity. So obviously body can be affected with a defect in immune system, and that could be life threatening in these children.
Indeed. Are there any environmental factors that contribute to PID, doctor? Would you explain on
environmental
this?
factors அப்படின்னா சில நேரங்கள்ல patients can pick up autoimmunity, and that has also come into the classification, and this autoimmunity can happen secondary to an infection or vaccination or anything at any age. But in other ways, how environmental factors can also affect PID is, these children are born with low or no immunity. So we need to ensure that they're in a protective environment or a very clean environment, so we don't complicate their life anymore before a definitive treatment is given. So when I talk about environment practices, we're talking about hygiene practices, etc., to ensure they don't catch infection from external sources. நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி அவங்களோட ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்டில் ரெண்டு வகை இருக்கும். ப்ரொஃபைலாக்டிக் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்டில் வந்து we'll ensure they don't catch another infection from outside or from within their body. But we should also be careful. So when you're handling a child with immunodeficiency, ensure you're very clean. They have clean clothes, hand hygiene, clean food. இதெல்லாம் ப்ரொவைட் பண்ணுறோன்னு. And always consult a doctor if you're not sure what more we should be doing with regards to looking after the child.
Since you're saying you have to have your hands clean, is you need to have a special care for the baby who is affected with PID, or it's just a normal upbringing of a child? How do you differentiate that, doctor?
Okay, good question. So, for normal childna, how do you define normal is very much. But in the இடத்துல பார்க்கும்போது a child with a normal immune system, what do they do? When they grow up, they'll have vaccinations. Secondly, they'll start going to school. They can have an entirely normal, extracurricular activity, yeah. All of that. They can go play sports, etc. They can mix with other children. They can come and they can have a pet at home. They can hug their other infected sibling at home who's got a runny nose, etc. This is all not preventable, but this is what a normal childhood would seem, or a normal child would do. In cases of children with immunodeficiency, all these can have some limitations. So immunodeficiency vaccination is a big question, and that's something that you should always discuss with a physician or the pediatric immunologist or hematologist before a vaccination is given. Because first thing is, there are certain vaccines which is not advisable not to be given for these children. Live vaccines in solvang. For example, even BCG vaccine, which is given to prevent tuberculosis, should not be given. MMR சொல்லுவாங்க, அந்த வேக்சினேஷன்லாம் கொடுக்கக்கூடாது. yellow feverன்ற vaccination, we don't give it in India, but Africaலாம் போகிறாங்கன்னா yellow fever vaccineலாம் கொடுப்பாங்க. All these live vaccination can potentially cause infection which could be life threatening. So these children cannot have live vaccines. Other vaccinations கொடுக்கலாம். Oral polio vaccine is not to be given because they can be they can develop polio secondary to oral polio vaccine. So they're always advised to give injectable. And not just that, அவங்க கூட இருக்கிற siblingsக்கும் we only advise them to have injectable form of polio vaccination. So it starts from childhood vaccines. So அவங்களுக்கு vaccination கூட every time you have to think, you have to talk to the pediatrician, tell them that this child has PID or we are suspecting PID, should this vaccine be given or any other vaccine we need to give, etc. இதை எப்பயுமே clarify பண்ணிடுறோம். Next வந்து, as a growing child, they're going to have antibiotics or IVIG on a monthly basis. If there is no definitive treatment like bone marrow transplant or gene therapy not available, no other alternative therapy available, then we have to keep going with these kind of treatments. So obviously these children are going to miss school. If they're going to be in school, they need to be in a protective environment. Ensure they don't go out and eat in a buffet or anything at all. So we need to educate the kids and the school, the teachers, etc., when they're looking after these children. A lot of times, because these children, if they acquire infections, they can be hospitalized for months, and sometimes they don't even get back because these could be life-threatening infections.
Indeed. So I think this question answered all the main topics, and it has given us an insight about the main what we should and what we shouldn't be doing according when it comes to PID. So as we know that every disease has its early warnings. So are there any early warnings, if you would like to share with us, doctor, any early warning signs when it comes in the terms of PID?
So I have mentioned this before. This is the same Jeffrey Modal Foundation. இதில் கொடுத்துருக்க definition வந்து it's quite elaborate, quite good, and it could guide any physician or a parent or a general practitioner to actually think or consider whether this child could have PID. For early warning signs in எடுத்துட்டிங்கன்னா, for example, if a child is going to a pediatrician because a child has a ear infection, அதுக்கு அடுத்த 2 வருஷம் கழிச்சு ஒரு sinusitis infection வருது, இந்த மாதிரிலாம் இருக்கும்போது should we prompt them to actually think about PID and do some tests? Not really. Still, although we are saying it's not that rare, sometimes common infections are common and common things are more common. So although we know early warning signs, it will actually only reflect infections. Are all infections PIDs? No, not really. But always think, if you have very frequent visits, 2 months we've been in the hospital for 2 months, they've been putting this child on antibiotic for more than 2 months, this is not normal. Correct? So it's always important. So Jeffrey Model Foundation la irka and 10 is quite important, like a family history, abscess formation in any organs or inside the body, recurrent ear infection within a year, recurrent pneumonias within a year, idellame vandu important. These are not normal. Staying in ICU for 2 months in a year is not normal. So these are kind of the early warning signs. And why is it important? Because it prompts you to actually diagnose. And more important, like I said, family history. If there is a family history, or a child, a previous sibling who had a BCG vaccination and developed more complications because of the BCG vaccination and died of TB, that is all giving you a clue. Even before the second child could have complications, it can actually trigger you to actually check for any PID in the second child, even before any symptoms occur. And if the test turns out positive, that's one of the very early signs. And you can start the treatment straight away.
Immediately, indeed, yes. So you were talking about immunoglobulin therapy, doctor. So how does immunoglobulin therapy help in managing PID, and state its advantages, so our audience could also know the advantages in which the treatment or the therapy will help in managing PID disorders?
Very good question. So they basically they are antibodies. So உங்களுக்கு ஒரு இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் வந்ததுன்னா அதோட ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் will be your body produces antibodies, antibody against something like a bacteria or a fungus. So this comes in a bottle, and this bottle contains antibodies against various viruses or bacterial infection, etc. And these are very safe indeed. And for these children who lack antibodies because of their PID, they could be given on a regular basis. How regular? It's on a monthly basis, and it's based on their weight. And previously, it was not very much freely available, but these days it's freely available, and we've got IVIG or immunoglobulins available at different strengths. Even for an adult, we can give IVIG for lack of antibodies within the body. So how does this help? This helps by, if there is an infection, they don't have any antibodies because they cannot produce. The body is not responding to the infection as a normal child or a normal person. You can actually supplement them with these antibodies, which can actually prevent them from having an infection. நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி இது 2 ஃபார்முலேஷன்ஸ் இருக்குது. ஒன்று வந்து இன்ட்ரவீனஸ் ஆர் வெயினில் பிளட்குள்ளே டிரெக்டாக கொடுக்குற மாதிரி, ஆர் செகண்ட் ஃபார்முலேஷன் இஸ் அண்டர் த ஸ்கின், சப்க்யூட்டேனஸ் ஃபார்முலேஷன். ஸோ நம்ம ஊரில் ஆர் இந்தியாவில் இருக்கிறது வந்து ஐவி ஃபார்முலேஷன்.
So the next question which I would like to shoot up to doctor, what are the genetic causes of PID?
Good question again, Christine. So as I said, these are genetic disorders, and I'm just going to slightly rephrase the question, if I may.
Sure. Yeah.
What kind of patients and how is it genetically inherited? Maybe I can say that.
Yes.
Because we know there is a genetic disorder. So how is it inherited? So சில conditions வந்து X-linked ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. That it can skip, just like, I don't know if you know about hemophilia. There is a disorder which is also X-linked. If the grandmother is carrying a defective gene and she passes it on to her son will be affected because they carry only one X chromosome. Women carry 2 X chromosome. If one is defective and the other one can be protective. So silla disorders predominantly it will happen in a male child. So family history eduthu pathingana, male kids would have borne this problem, which seems like PID but never diagnosed. But right now you're dealing with a child who is a male who you're suspecting PID. So some disorders are X-linked. சில disorders வந்து X chromosome link கிடையாது. It could be a defective gene arising from another chromosome. Autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதாவது sometimes even one defective gene is good enough to cause this PID. சில நேரங்களில் ரெண்டு ஜீனும் இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் குரோமோசோம் நம்பர் ஐம் ஜஸ்ட் ரேண்டம்லி கிவிங் ஷூட்டிங் நம்பர் 22 அப்படின்னு எடுத்துட்டிங்கன்னா குரோமோசோம் நம்பர் 22ல் ரெண்டு குரோமோசோம் வி ஆல் கேரி டூ செட்ஸ் ஆஃப் குரோமோசோம். One comes from the mother, one comes from the father. If both 22 are defective, either because it's been passed on by one parent and the other one automatica, some mutation happens before the child is being born because of environmental factors, infection or anything at all. This is called autosomal recessive. So similar conditions are developed because the child will carry two defective genes, some even one single gene. So PIDs can happen in different formats within the genetics. So it's not just one X-linked mattum அப்படினு கிடையாது.
Indeed, okay. So talking about myths, so many of us, we believe in myths which are true and untrue. So what are the common myths of PID which you should be sharing with us today on this topic, Doctor?
Okay, good question. So first thing is, நான் ஆரம்பத்திலே சொன்னேன், we've always talked as PID is a very rare disorder. So சில நேரங்கள் நம்ம சஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணுவோம், oh it can't be that because it's very rare. But it is not that rare. As I said, they can happen in one child out of a few thousands of children being born. So it could be a bit more common than the rare phenomenon that we've been talking about in the past. Secondly, PIDs can happen only in early childhood. ரொம்ப சின்ன குழந்தைங்களுக்கு மட்டும்தான் பிஐடி வரலாம். அதை தாண்டி போயிட்டாங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு ஒன்றும் இல்லை, இட் இஸ் நாட் பிஐடி, இட் குட் பி சம்திங் எல்ஸ். இட்ஸ் நாட் தட் வே பிகாஸ் வீவ் டாக்ட் அபவுட் இட். ஏஜ் ரேஞ்ச் இட் குட் பி happening from childhood to even adults. Third, so if a child is being born with PID, we think, immunodeficiency, this child is never going to grow into an adult. And that is again becoming a myth because we have various treatments available, excellent centers with excellent facilities, lots of newer therapies which are available abroad are also available here for our children in India. So these are all common myths. The next important thing is, if one child has immunodeficiency, they're going to school, they hug or they touch another child, it's not contagious, so it doesn't get passed on. And if one child bears PID, the second child being born, can they have PID? Definitely not really, but there could be a chance depending on how genetically this child has acquired this disorder. So if it is an X-linked, if it is a female child, they might not have, or they might be a carrier of this genetic disorder. Those are the only possibilities. So these are all some of the common myths that we do hear about PIDs.
Thank you, Doctor. I think that was very well answered. How can general public support PID research and awareness? Talking about general public, it doesn't need to be a vast explanation, but how can a public, that is a normal, commoner person, have a research or know about the awarenesses of PID, which you should be sharing with us here today?
So very good again, and thank you for bringing this question and thank you for giving this opportunity to discuss about this very important disorder.
Exactly,
here.
and as we are already celebrating the PID week from 22nd to 29th.
So it's well timed.
Exactly, yes.
So one of the ways that we can bring about public awareness is to create these awareness weeks on a yearly basis. Educate the public. Public is not just general population, not just every day, you're watching television, you go to work, you come back and you learn about this through radio or television. It's also educating other stakeholders like doctors who are not directly involved in this child care if they have an immunodeficiency, but they might be giving supportive treatment. So involving them through this process by educating, spreading the news that PID could, you could have a child with PID landing in someone else's consultation room for recurrent problems, etc. So this is all important because it's not rare anymore, so it's important. Second thing is there are lots of children, as we know much better about PIDs. More children are being diagnosed and more children are being treated and managed very well, and there are more children who are surviving this PID and having a normal childhood beyond this definitive treatment. So these parents of these children can actually form support groups. There are lots of support groups available, and new parents with a child with PID can reach out to these support groups through these public awareness. We can give them links for support, joining the support group, where they can tell them their experience. They can share the experience. They can share where the treatment facilities are available for the best possible treatment and better quality of life, etc. So these are some of the important things that they can do. They also form registries. They are very important in actually forming registries, because you did frame one question about how common is it in India. We still don't know the denominator. But these registries are important because every child who's been diagnosed with PID will go into the registry, and we'll know this child with this disorder who presented this way at this age, how have they fared in life and with what treatment. And you've got a series of good outcome. This is very important because you can share this information with other new patients across the globe too, because the globe is becoming smaller now, and we reach out to each other through these kind of registries and sharing data and information. Obviously these data are confidential. The other thing that they do help is there are certain very strong support groups which also helps in raising funds for patients who are affected with PID, who can no longer actually afford treatment, like supportive care treatment too, including antibiotics or IVIG therapy. And these support groups have actually funded even research and funded these such patients. So it's quite important. They are a very strong influence and they play a big role in the society.
So indeed, giving information about PID to general public is very important, and I think that's the reason we are having this awareness week also of PID. Indeed, doctor.
Can I add just one more? Because
Sure.
these support groups are also important because they can actually influence policy makers.
Exactly.
So they can affect or have a better healthcare system supporting these patients too through the government.
Very well answered, indeed. Thank you so much. As we all know that Dr. Poni is an expert at this topic, and she's been here with us, answering all our queries and answers and giving it to us in a very simplified form. So, doctor, I would like to shoot up a question. Talking about PID and its awarenesses, I think you would have faced your own cases, your own discussions, your own patients. Would you like to share with our audience maybe a case or two? How did a person or a baby or a child inherit this, and how was it curable? What did they do? What they did not do? I think a case discussion would be very, informative to our audience over here who's listening to this.
Okay, thank you for the question, Christine. So I thought I'll brief a couple of patients
Sure,
that I've come
yes, a
across,
couple,
because
yeah.
they had two different presentations.
Yeah, sure.
And it's very important because one of them was an older child. She was in her teens when she came to us.
Okay.
So I'll talk about her first. So I had a chance to treat her, I think more than 15 years ago now, when she was 17 at that time. And she was a competitive skier. She had an excellent life, great childhood. But then she presented to us because she had some recurrent anemias where the hemoglobin drops, and she also had low platelet count. So she had a couple of blood issues. So if you look at the blood count, there were a couple of bloods which were abnormally low. And we kept investigating her, and eventually, over the days, she developed what we call it as autoimmune cytopenias, and this is one of the presentations of PID2. So she had autoimmune cytopenias where her immune system was destructing her own cells. She also developed some massive liver and spleen. And finally, we came to know that what she had was not just autoimmune cytopenias. There was an underlying disorder called ALPS.
Okay.
Okay, so where they can have lymph node enlargement, they can have liver and spleen being enlarged. And this is one of the new PIDs that we do know, new, not so new, but it has been included into the PIDs too. Eventually, she had a transplant, a bone marrow transplant, to get her into a curative state. We actually didn't find a donor within the family. And she's a Caucasian, and we could find a donor from a registry. In a bone marrow transplant registry, we could find a suitable donor, and she underwent a transplant and doing well. So that's one of the not child, but a young girl who also had an PID. The second one, I can say, some of the most common way we come across children here in their infancy. So she was a 2-week-old baby who had a chest infection right from birth. And she also had a BCG vaccination done, and she had some scarring of the BCG vaccination, wasn't healing, it was pouring pus, etc. So the pediatrician, rightly there, was very suspicious whether this could be a PID. So he did some preliminary tests, and he also got contact to our center, and we diagnosed the child with PID. So within first 2 months of age, the child was brought to our center, and we continued initial supportive care or the prophylactic treatment in terms of IVIG and treating her chest infection, etc. Got her infection under control. But we did attempt at looking at a donor or a suitable donor for this child within the family, and we couldn't find. And we looked at a donor outside of the family too, through the registries, but we couldn't find one. Finally, we went ahead with a mismatched transplant. So the mother herself gave her cells, and the child is doing excellent. And this transplant was done about 6 years ago, and the child is doing absolutely well. And we do get pictures of the child on a yearly basis for every birthday. So what is more important is diagnosing them
At an
appropriately
early-
and treating them, so we can get them into a remission, and they can have a normal childhood beyond.
Indeed, it was two interesting cases which you shared. Just for our audience note, is there any cases where you found that PID is not curable and which has been threatened to their life or something like that, if you have to share with us?
Yes, so it's very important question. So PID is majority of these PIDs will have a definitive treatment. Like I said, they can have a bone marrow transplant, or they can have a gene therapy if it is feasible. Yes. And there are certain disorders where we have to actually weigh the risks and benefits. Some patients abroad, they can have treatment in form of IVIG recurrent infusions on a monthly basis, rather than taking them through a transplant, because transplant itself bears a lot of mortality, or the child could die just of transplant related complications. Although it is less in frequency, but the risk is still there. So every decision made is individualized. For this child with this disorder, do we have to go through this kind of treatment with certain complications which could happen and affect the bad quality of life, etc. Indeed, we've all come across, as physicians, we'll all have good things, bad things, and ugly things happening or seeing during our course. So we have also seen patients who come in late because the parents have been hesitant. They indeed have more infections prior to a definitive treatment, like BMT, can become a complication or become very challenging during the course. And sometimes we've even lost patients before taking them into transplant because of these nasty infections. Okay. And these nasty infections, even during the course of transplant, could flare up and be life-threatening. So it's always important that we identify at the early and start the treatment.
Earlier, the better.
Absolutely, yes, the key.
Indeed, Doctor has shared her experiences and her cases with us. I think, indeed, we have got the utmost information out of this. And just a last question before we could wind up this extravagant topic which we discussed, PID. So, can you just share with our audience the key factors of PID?
So the key things, just a few takeaway points, if you don't listen to the entire conversation, but at least the last few minutes or few seconds of it, is first thing is PID can occur at any age. So it's not just a disease of childhood or infancy. Second thing is it's not rare, as I said. So always remember that. Be aware of those different signs I kept mentioning throughout this conversation. The Jeffrey Modal Foundation, happy to actually add a link at the end or something. So you can actually look it up. There can be posters too, which may be available, of the different types of presentations. So it is not that rare anymore. So always have an idea about what symptoms the child can present. And it is not contagious, and it can run in the family, but sometimes even skip generations. So if a previous generation hadn't had a child with PID or have any deaths, but the third generation may have a child with a PID, it can skip generations. So don't think that if skipping a generation means that skipping that genetic mutation. It's not that way. So it can run in the family but skip generations and occur within the family too. And it's not contagious. If one sibling has it, doesn't mean that the second sibling is going to have it, but will definitely need a genetic counseling, or what we call it as a prenatal testing and a counseling. So the expectant mother could have a genetic test done at around 11 to 13 weeks of gestation to ensure that the genetic mutation is not passed on to the future child or the fetus too. So
indeed. Is there anything else you would like to share, Doctor, apart from the questions we have asked? Is there anything else, do you think, that which should be shared from your side on the importances of PID? Is there anything else?
no, thank you for this opportunity. But all I would like to say is please spread the word. It's very important that we have to spread the word and keep everybody aware, because it's not new, it's not rare.
Indeed, yes. So I think we have come to the end of this wonderful discussion with Dr. Ponni. So we would like to thank you, Doctor, for sparing your time and giving us this opportunity with you here to, and we are most honored because you have been here with us on your busy schedule, and not only that, you have given all your key points and awarenesses on PID. So thank you so much for joining us. It was a real pleasure having you here, Doctor.
It's a pleasure to be here too, and thank you so much, Christine, for the lovely afternoon.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
once again, everyone kindly do watch this and do get all the informations and do spread the awarenesses of PID. And as you all know that the awareness week is April 22nd to 29th. So do share the awarenesses of PID, and everyone stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you.